It is a scorcher here at Mohawk. I'm just leaving Mohawk. So, bit of a roller coaster already. It always is, right? Horse racing. We had a great weekend. I had a lot of nerves and trepidation going into Knockdown Dragout's race. How would she behave? So, it's a loaded question. How would she behave? So, she was quiet in the warm-up. She was quiet going up to the gate. As soon as they said go, she got a little warm. And I think that precipitated maybe her shutting her air off. She goes to the low head. She always has, and she's never shut her air off. The reason I bring that up is because when I went by Sylvain Fillion, I was trying to stay. First, I want to take her off the gate like I did in the qualifier. She'd have none of that. So I said, okay, there's a big 3-hole there. I'll get her in the 3-hole and let her settle. She wanted none of that. So I said, okay, fine. We'll work on what I need to do next week. Clearly, we need to make changes. Let's focus on the race. Sylvain was one of the horses to beat. I looped up around him, and as I'm going by him, he said she was making a noise. So now I know I'm in trouble. One, I know I can get her backed up a half where she's comfortable, 58-ish. But they're going to have to go in 57. They went in 56. I said, we're going to have to go in 57. If I shut her a little bit, is she going to have enough on the end of it? These are all things going on in my mind. The math was there for her to win, but you could see coming out of the turn, she got a little steppy, and I think she just ran out of air. So you can't rush. Like, this is a filly, and I put it to somebody last night, one of our clients, and keep in mind, put yourself in the shoes of the people that own Knockdown Dragout, right? This is a filly with an incredible amount of talent. Squandered it at 2. Okay, she's not mentally mature enough. She's fast, but needs to be smarter. Then at 3, we sent her to one of the leading trainers in the world. Well, definitely North America, let's say. Right now in Åke Svanstedt. He sent her back home. We get her back home. We get her hung up the way we want her now. We did have to train her down a little bit on TQ. TQ is a wonderful thing for hot horses. Night and day, right, in some aspects. Now, that spectrum is very, very important. The difference between controllable and mildly uncontrollable. I could control her last night, but we shut her air off. So that spectrum on a horse is usually wide. But controllable to uncontrollable is a wide berth. With her, very thin. And the difference between controllable and uncontrollable, as thin as it is the difference between her being a stakes filly right now and us having to wait until we find a way to make her a stakes filly. So find a way to get her controllable. We have a multitude of options. Change her headgear. She doesn't like a lot of stuff in her mouth. So, as soon as she feels in her mouth, she reverts back to that default, which is that Sebastian K lunacy that you see sometimes. Now, you haven't seen it from her this year, and as crazy as she was last night, she wasn't throwing her head and acting up and being a goof. She was just very eager. So how do we dissipate that eagerness without drowning out her drive? That is the million-dollar question. Could be a million-dollar question. So, I've heard people say to clients, well, it's the way they train them down. Listen, Mario Barrajon was incredibly careful with this filly training her down. When I went with her, I was careful with her. When he went with her, he was careful with her. We had every precaution put in place to keep her quiet while we're training her in sets. Now, if you're saying that we should have trained her down by herself, that's stupid, all right? At the end of the day, this isn't the first crazy horse. Cruising in Style was a lunatic at 2 and 3. In fact, as a 3-year-old, I raced, maybe even as a 4-year-old, 3-year-old, I think, on Hambletonian Day. When Lawmaker raced in the Hambletonian Eliminations, I drove him at the Meadowlands for Andrew Harris. He had a snake cord in his mouth that day, trotting in 52. It wasn't until well into his 4-year-old year you could take that snake cord off him. That's 2 years of racing. 2 years of racing. But he was on the other side of controllable. He would wear that snake cord. He didn't like it, but he'd wear it. She hates it. So what options do we have other than a snake cord for Knockdown Dragout? That's what we need to explore. And we can say, well, we should have explored that back then. That only would have angered her all winter. We got her here in a comfortable manner. She qualified great. That horse is there. We just need to put the other one to bed and you know, silence the voices in her head. And this is just a part of maturity. There's no doubt in my mind, regardless of what we do, if she had 25 more starts on her program, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Now, what would those 25 starts look like? That's the problem. Getting to a physical maturity and mental maturity of a horse is the roller coaster. It is racing. And you can go out there and gun her, and she will be an absolute pig when she is 4. And a claimer. Guaranteed, she is not built to be a speed demon. She's frail, she's tiny, and in a very short order, she will become a horrible little animal if we let her do that. I've said that from day one, and I know people want her to go out and do good right now. It doesn't always happen that way. So, as I said, we have a number of options. We're exploring them now. We're working. You know, Mario and I had a good discussion about it last night. We're going to have more discussions in the coming weeks about it. We're going to try and keep her on an 8 to 10 day rotation and see if we can't squeeze her over onto the other side of the fence where she's manageable and she learns as she goes. So that was Knockdown Drag Out. Aside from that, we had a great weekend. We talked about that in your weekend videos. Obviously, pretty depressing thing last night. I mean, are we going to look for silver lining? She tried a mile in 58. She showed again that she's talented, but it's pretty hard to call that a silver lining when the overall body of work of last night was disrupted by her behavior. So it's not that she has a bad attitude. I really just think she's eager. She's eager and headstrong and stubborn. Maybe not the sharpest knife in the drawer, and that might play a role also. But I'm still more than confident we can get her comfortable where we can race her. Time will tell. What do we got? So we got Johan and we got Canadian Titan tonight here at Mohawk. I'm driving them. I'm not going to Georgian Downs. Beach Boutique is in the first. Sylvain Filion will drive her. And then we have Capistrano, Miss Brampton Beast, Trafalgar, and Brave World at Georgian Downs tonight. So we're racing 7 horses under our banner this evening. But I'm here talking to you about what just took place, and that was Ailsund. Ailsund never needed hobbles her whole life. Now, this is a very tricky situation, much different than the Knockdown Drag Out situation, but there's tons of situations in racing horses. So, Jason trained her down. You guys saw her on the drone. Never really. She made a break when Jason put her in a place to make a break, but was really good. James trained her 2.6 last half in 59 with Canadian Titan 3 weeks ago. She's been good. Get her over to Mohawk. She just made a little break in the first turn on me. I'm like, she's just being stupid. You know, maybe we were going too slow. She's another one that hates the snake cord, but she needs to wear it. Then James went with her. I said, we changed her shoes a bit. I said, it should be fine. She was horrible. She ran all over the track. Couldn't trot the turns. So I get an email, and this is important. I get an email from one of our clients, Ruth, and she said, I don't want to be this person, but would it not make sense to put trotting hobbles on her? Now, this would be a case where, and even I fall into this. We talk about all the time how horsemen get stubborn, and they fall into this myopic vision where it must be this, it has to be this, we're going to work on this, but it's very difficult to open those blinders up sometimes, even for me. And I know, I try my hardest not to fall into that routine sometimes, but even I do sometimes. I was certain Ailsund can trot as fast as she wants to go. You could throw the lines over her back at Tomiko Training Center and she'd be fine. They don't race at Tomiko Training Center. So when she comes over here, you can hear her touch her knee. But that when you hear her first hit that boot, coming to the half today in the qualifier, she hit her knee and got out of gear. You'd see her get out of gear, but the hobbles caught her, right? And then she continued on, finished up very strong. In my mind, she didn't need hobbles. And when we tried to put them on her last year, it was a bit of a disaster, I believe. Out of gear, you know, she couldn't function with them on, but we didn't really give her a long time to adapt, to learn how to go with them. This year, we never put the hobbles on her at all. So after James's break, I'm in my head, I'm watching the qualifier and racking my brain trying to figure out what's going on with this filly and how can we fix this. And we brought her over here on Saturday. We brought her here. I trained her down a quarter. She made a break. We changed her gear. She made a break. We changed her gear again. She made a break. In the same place, going into the first turn on me. And I think the last time I got her through the turn, but it was only because she was thawed out and I was waiting for her to get out of gear. So we changed her shoes again. Now, this time, I'm thinking to myself, we're going to put the hobbles on her. Let's switch her shoes around in a way that the hobbles will help her trot, the shoes can help her with her interfering. The reason I say it like that is sometimes when you change your shoes, it may make sense for the way they're trotting, but they can't handle that lack of weight or too much weight. And it throws off their gait even more, they hit even more, and it's a disaster. So we changed her shoes again. This is 4 shoeing changes in a week and a half. We changed her shoes again. I go out and I train her in the hobbles Monday morning. She is perfect. Sure, she touched herself, but get out of gear and take right off. And that's how she was today. Polite with that snake cord on. She's getting used to it. Took her off the gate, dropped her in behind, followed cover, moved her out in the last turn, trotted hard down the lane. She had to trot, 57? And looked the best she's ever looked in her life. So that's good. Yeah, the good news is she's qualified. When I look and somebody might say, well, if we had done that to begin with, we would never have done this, ever. She never would have worn the hobbles. And it wasn't just the email from Ruth. Definitely the email from Ruth got me thinking, am I being myopic? Am I not taking the blinders off and looking at the total picture? So in that regard, I appreciate the email of Ruth. Thank you very much. When it comes to Ailsun, we put the hobbles on her. We qualified her. She was good. But was she better than Compass Rose DC, Globetrotting, and spend that money? Maybe not. So this idea that, we missed the stake race. No. You're going to be right on time for the stake race that matters. And that will be the Buckeye on the 20th. I will be there to drive her. She will be in Northfield, right where we're stabled. And I suspect she'll be a fairly decent favorite going into it. I would imagine. Anyway, so today started off well. Got some horses trained. I'm going to take a bunch of the babies over tomorrow just to train them, just to get them to look at the track. Again, the frilly fringes. I know she trained hard on Saturday, but I want her to see Mohawk. I'm going to go mile 30 with her out here. Won my heart, Hanover. I'll make sure she's not going to be on me this week. So I'm going to bring her over, Beef and Cheddar. Just the horses. They're usual suspects. The ones that may need to take another look at the surface, may need to see the flags again in the grandstand again. So that is what we are going to do tomorrow. I have 20 spots. I think we only need 10. I'm going to lock in that number here in the next hour, call the race off and say, hey, I don't need my spots at 9. I'm actually going to get up and do the 6 a.m. one. So that was it today. It was a great success so far. I'm really hoping and praying that Johan, another Sebastian K that can get a little bit loony sometimes, I'm hoping that he behaves himself. He was so good in the qualifier, but so was Knockdown. So fingers crossed for Johan tonight. And Canadian Titan, I believe, has a pretty good shot tonight. I know she's 8-1 morning line, but that mile out of her, I think, was a stepping stone. She trained good this week. She looks good. So I'm excited for tonight. I haven't really looked closely at Beach Boutique's class, but I'm excited to see her continue on with her 2020 campaign. She just looks like a good horse now. Before, she was frail, needed to put weight and muscle on. She did. New Beach Boutique. Let's see how she makes out in a new skin. Anyway, she's going to need a couple of starts. I'm still eager to see how she does tonight. So that's it for the qualifying report from Tuesday, June the 9th. And for those of you wondering, I believe we're listing Trace Tetrick on the 3 fillies Friday at Scioto. He's been racing at Scioto. Pretty hard to go wrong with a name like Tetrick, whether it's Timmy or Trace. They both do very, very good. And I expect, I hope he'll take all 3 of them. So that's it. I will talk to you guys soon. I'm on my way back to the farm. Still got to train 3 horses and make sure I got all of our sets. I'm going to train all the horses easy tomorrow, just singles, one after another, and get them over with. So we'll get that done for 6:30 tomorrow. We'll be on our way. We entered 38 horses into qualify on Friday and Saturday. We'll see how they all make out. They all seem fine to me. We'll see you on Friday and Saturday. Take care.